Good morning, Year 5 and 6. Here's your first video for English for this week. And as you can see from the Walt, we're going to be writing from a character's viewpoint. And this piece of work is going to be based on the Pied Piper of Hamelin, which you were looking at last week. Now, for English Lesson 1, which is planning, you will need English Sheet 1, which is the Rats and Child's Point of View sheet, the Pictures and Drawings of Hamelin sheet, and Planning Sheet 1. So I suggest that you pause the video now and you get those things out of your pack and you have them ready to go. Right then, now we've got everything that we need for the lesson. We are going to make a decision of which character we're going to write from their point of view. Now we're going to choose either the rat who didn't drown in the poem or the child who got left behind because they couldn't move as fast as the others. So I want you to make a decision about whether you want to write as the rat or as the child in this piece of work. But whichever you choose, you will be writing first person, so using I, and you will be writing past tense because you're writing about events that have already happened. So the first task I want you to do is to take the Rats and Child's Point of View sheet, which has the words from the poem that tell us what they experienced. Now, some of these weren't in the version of the poem that you read last week because that was an abridged or cut down version, but they give you some detail about what that particular rat and that particular child said about how they felt about what happened. So I'd like you to pause now and read those through. You've got them on your sheet and choose the one you want. Stick with that one. Pause for a minute. Right, welcome back. So now I want you to think about what they might have seen as they danced along to that magical pipe music. What did they imagine that the piper's song promised them? So there's two things there, what they actually saw around them with their eyes and what they saw in their mind that the music promised them might happen. But to help you with this, you've got a sheet of pictures, and they are drawings and photographs of the actual town of Hamelin, which is a real place. It's in Germany. This one here, the drawing of Hamelin from the book that we will be using, looks like this. And the illustrator said that he based it on documents and maps from the time. So although it's cartoony in style, it's quite realistic. Now you've got a mixture here. You've got 3 other drawings of Hamelin by different artists and a couple of photographs of what Hamelin looks like today. And this picture here shows the actual centre of the old town as it would look if you went today. So we're going to think about what were the characters seeing with their eyes to start with. And you've got on the top of your planning sheet a little table that says nouns and adjectives. So to start with, I want you to list some nouns that you can see in the pictures. So pause for a minute and make yourself a list of nouns. Maybe you find about 8 things that you might use. Okay, now that you've got your list of nouns, for each one of them, we're going to write some adjectives. As you remember, adjectives are words that describe nouns. So I've chosen steeple. That was the most obvious thing to me in this photograph here, the steeple of this church. And my adjectives are towering and pointed. You should have a list of nouns now. So for each of your nouns, see if you can think of some adjectives that will describe what the rat or the child actually saw. Pause the video while you do it. Right. Now we're going to think about what they actually imagined in their head, because this magical music was making promises to them to draw them on and take them away. This is the rat's point of view. I just thought it might be nice to write as a rat. It might be interesting. And reading through this, there are some words here like tripe. You should remember that word from last term, actually. It was in the novel. It's a kind of a meat that you can eat, and it's actually the lining of a cow's stomach. Delicious. Also, there are apples listed here. This word conserve, that means jam. Butter casks, that's barrels of butter. And down here, the sugar puncheon, which is literally a barrel of sugar. So these you can imagine are all nice things that rats might like to eat. Just the sort of thing that the piper would want to put into their head using the playing on the pipe. And the children's one, if you've chosen to do the children, it talks about a joyous land, waters gushing, fruit trees growing, sparrows that are bright as peacocks, honeybees, horses. So just pause and choose either rat or child and add to your list here what they imagined, this bottom section, some nouns and some adjectives to go with them. Right, last thing for today. If you look at the bottom of the sheet, this is what we are suggesting for the structure of what this story is going to be like. So imagining 3 sections to it. It could be 3 paragraphs, or you could have more than 1 paragraph in each section. To start with, how you felt when you first heard the music, what you saw and imagined, that's what we've been looking at today, and finally, what happened when you are released from the spell. So have a think about that and make just a couple of notes there before we end today's session. And what you should have ready for tomorrow is a planning sheet with lots of ideas that you can draw on. See you tomorrow then. Bye.